Today's Chumash, Wednesday, is page 26 through page 35. Okay, not too bad. Chapter 38, Rabbi, the fourth Aliyah for Parsha Vayakal. Vayakal B'Kudei, double Parsha.
Not too long.
He, the artisan, made the altar for the Ola offerings, the sacrifices, out of acacia wood. 5 cubits squared width and length. B'shalosh amos kamasai, and 3 amos height. But we actually said in Rashi, when we described it, that according to, I think the opinion that Rashi likes better, that actually was taller, and 3 amos was just to a certain point of it. Is it 10 amos? I forget exactly. Okay. Sacrificial altar. Bays. You can look it up in the price.
$592. $591. $592.
Not 5. No, it's not. Can't put good day. Samayakal. Okay.
I just took this corner.
Look at you.
Right.
Looking at you. Okay. Okay. It's 3 cubits high above its border, but it was actually, I think, 8 or 10 amos. Okay. Bays.
What page?
Page 581. Bays. Vayas Karnesov. He made its turrets, Alar Pinesav, on the 4 corners. Menu from it, Hayu Karnesov, with the turrets, and he overlaid it with copper. The incense altar inside was gold overlay, and this was copper overlay. Gimel Vayas is called him He made the altars, utensils, the pots, shovels, sprinkling bowls, flesh hooks, and fire pans. All its utensils he made of copper. Dalid Vayas Lamizbech Michbar. He made a copper lattice work great. Vayas Lamizbech Michbar Ma'aser Necheshes. He made a copper lattice work great for the altar. Tachas Karkuvay Mamata Al Chetzei, under its indented surround and reaching until half its height. Hey, he cast 4 rings, the 4 points of the copper grade, but lamadim as holders for the poles. That's yeah. He made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with copper. Zayin, he inserted the poles into the rings on the sides of the altar to carry them with them. He made the altar a hollow structure out of panels. As we said, it was filled with earth in the middle. The one in the tabernacle. The one in the temple was not earth in the middle; it was fully stone. But the one tabernacle was actually like a box that in the middle was earth. Nevuv hu chalal. Nevuv means hollow. So you see the term, it's for a finger breadth thick and hollow.
Well, you're saying the altar is different in each one?
Yes.
For the Mishkan is different.
What's different?
There was dirt. It was not solid. It was essentially a box. In the middle was stuffed with dirt.
What was the other one?
All stone.
Because there's a specific passage about building it of earth, right?
Yeah. Okay, moving along. Ches. Vayas esakir necheshes. He made the copper laver, washing urn, meskane, and its stand out of copper. And it's copper stand. Out of the mirrors of the women who produce the multitudes who now gather at the entrance of the tent of meeting.
In the mirror of the women.
Maris Tsevis. The mirrors of the women of multitudes.
Wait, what does that mean, the multitude?
Let's see.
I thought
Look at
this
Rashi.
was something we were bragging about the women.
Yeah. Look.
Okay.
The women of Israel possessed copper mirrors in which they would adorn themselves. And those they did not, even those they did not withhold from bringing to donate to the temple, drive. So Moshe was, disgusted. He rejected them because he thought this is a mirror of vanity, of more,
Appearance.
of the Yetzer Hara, yeah. If it's too bodily and it's not spiritual, Amalek Kadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem said, Kabel, accept them. These mirrors are more precious to me than everything else that's donated.
Wow.
Because through those mirrors, the women produce the multitudes of the Jewish children in Egypt.
Wow.
That's what we're bragging about. You understand?
Oh, okay. We had this before. Yeah. Okay.
When their husbands were weary from the backbreaking labor. They would
hear
go
this
and
just
bring.
a couple of parshas ago, Rabbi? About
Yeah, everything we mentioned. This is all repeat, remember?
Okay. All right.
But this actually, when I told you this actually wasn't said, I think, earlier. I was just mentioning it. Rashi brings it here for the first time because the language here is inviting this commentary.
But I thought the half shekel this was mentioned because it was created the copper pot came from the mirrors, I thought.
Half shekel was silver and it created the bases for the beams.
There was some copper deal when the half shekel was done.
Yeah, the women.
No, the women contributed to the building drive the copper mirrors amongst all the other.
Right.
So the same thing. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm saying this is actually the source of Rashi. I just told it to you, but it wasn't actually Rashi. Didn't say it last week. This is Rashi's source because I think the verse here has extra words that invites this commentary. Multitudes, right? The copper mirrors that produce the multitudes. B'maros hatzovos asher tzavu. The mirrors of the women that produce multitudes. It explains it's how they had children through this. When their husbands were weary at the backbreaking labor, they would bring them food, drink, and feed them. And they would take their mirrors, and everyone would look at herself, their husband in the mirror. She would say, she would arouse the husband's desire, lure him by saying, "I am more beautiful than you." And look in the mirror, and then they'd have children, and they become pregnant, and they have give birth to a lot of children.
Wow.
As it says in the Song of Songs, King Solomon alludes to this in his poem in Song of Songs, that under the apple tree I roused you. Apple could also mean citron, just so you know, because apples I think are later. Anyway.
It seems like an odd line to throw in. I am more beautiful than.
Yeah, like what was it? Why was that?
Where is that coming from? I mean,
I don't know how pickup lines worked back then.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Okay,
but I guess it was a thing. This is what we say in the mirrors. This is what it means. The mirrors that made multitudes. And this copper basin urn was made from them. And it came full circle because the copper urn also would give the water that would produce shalom bayis, domestic harmony between man and wife. Because that was the water came for the sota water of a case of suspected infidelity. And these were actual mirrors because it says the copper from the wave offering, the offering they did for the building drive was 70 kikar. With it, he made. And the urn and its base that I mentioned there. This implies that the Copper went for other stuff, the overlay of the altar. There's real copper given, just copper bars. It doesn't mention there the key, the urn. It says all the things they made out of copper in Pekude, but it doesn't say the urn. That was copper, because the copper bars, they made other stuff. And indeed the kiyar, the urn was made from this special, not from those copper donations, but from these mirrors specifically. So expounds Rabbi Tanchuma, and so explains Onkelos in his translation of Mechsias Neshaya, which means with the women's mirrors. In the translation of Mares in Old French is mirrors. There you go. So too we find in Yeshaya Val Gilyonim. So too we find in Yeshaya Val Gilyonim Mitargamina Mechazasa. In the mirrors.
Rabbi.
Asher Tzavu, that the mirrors that produce multitudes who gathered to bring their contributions. Tzovos was the multitudes. Here means they gather these mirrors. Yeah. Let's go on.
Can we say the mirrors and the urn is got a connection with Shabbos candles because of Shalom bias?
Sorry again.
You said it was Shalom bias just now, right? Mirrors.
It came full circle. It helped their marriages later on in history.
Shalom bias.
Shalom bias. Yeah.
Well, the Shabbos candles are Shalom bias.
What's being said?
Yeah, but you're saying Shabbos candles also bring shalom bias
for 21st century,
but it's nothing to do with this. It does a similar effect, but I don't see a connection to the urn per se.
You just said it's Shalom bias. The water.
If an apple is red, and Clifford the red dog is red, is the apple and Clifford the same thing? They're just both red. So I'd say the candles bring shalom bias, and this urn also brings shalom bias, but they're not. I mean, there could be connection. I should think offhand. I don't know.
I understand.
They have a similar effect.
Right.
Tess. Negev. He made the enclosure. He made it with crocheted enclosure hangings of twined linen. Lefas Negev Tamana on the south-facing side. Kalei Chatzah Shesh Masar. Crocheted hangings that were twisted linen, 100 amas, 100 amas long. Okay, moving along. Got to finish up here. Yeah. I have to finish at 10:15 either way. Okay. They had 20 pillars, and they had 20 copper bases for those courtyard, enclosures. But the hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. The north side was 100 amos long, and they had 20 pillars, and they had 20 copper sockets. And their hooks of those and the bands were silver, though. But the west side had 50 amos of enclosures. And they had only 10 beams, pillars, and 10 sockets. But the hooks and the bands were silver. And the east side of the courtyard enclosure was 50 amos. So crocheted, here's how it works, actually different. Crocheted hangings were 15 cubits long on one side, for one side section. With their 3 pillars and 3 bases for them, just to make 15. So now you have 40, you have 35 not covered. So go down to the other corner, the second side section. There was on the eastern entrance, thus being each side of the entrance of the enclosure had 15 cubits of klayim. Their pillars, 3 pillars, and 3 bases for them. Tezayin. Kol kalei chatzos sav shesh masar, all the crocheted enclosure hangings all around were made of twined linen. Okay. The bases for the pillars, these pillars, were copper, as we said. And their hooks and their bands were silver. And the tops were also covered with silver. And thus all the pillars, all the pillars were banded with silver. Yud Ches, page 30. Now, so you have 15 on each side. That's 30. We have 20. You have a gap of 20 in the middle. So that was closed by a curtain. Let's see. It was embroidered. That was made of a few things, of turquoise, purple, red, with shesh moser and twine linen. It was 20, so that covers the 20. And its height was 5 cubits in width. Correspond to the height of the crocheted linen enclosures. Yutes. There's And Yutes Amudim Arba, they had these 20 in the middle had 4 pillars, 4 sockets of copper, the silver hooks, and the covering of their top of the beam and their bands had silver. And all the pegs for the dwelling that held the curtains up as a wall were copper. Page 31, we start Pekudei. These are the accounts of the dwelling of the Mishkan of the testimony of the testimony of the Luchos. That was calculated by Moshe's instructions. Here's the inventory. Avodas Hayalevim, which was the work of the Levites, Biadi Samar, under the direction of Itamar, Ben Aaron and the son of Aaron the priest. Rashi. Eila Pekudei. These are the accounts. In this parsha, we are going to, the weight is counted, all the weights of the contributions of the donations for silver, gold, and copper, as well as inventory of the vessels for all its service is enumerated as well. So Pekuda means accounts, doesn't mean appointments. Mishkan.
What?
It means accounts. These are the accountings.
Right.
That's it. That's all I have to know. Because Pekuda can mean another word. It can mean okay, whatever. Hamishkan.
What is the other word that it could mean?
Appointments. Yeah. Okay, moving along. Although they translate appointments in the Kaz, I don't know what they're doing. Okay. Chav. Next Rashi.
Hamishkan,
the dwelling. Why did I say the word Mishkan twice? This is a hint for the temples that would be Nismashkein. They were taken as collateral. The 2 times it was destroyed on account of the transgressions. Why I say Mishkan? It says in a way the 2 corresponding temples are going. God takes them away as collateral that we're going to be worthy of it when Mashiach comes. Mishkan Eidos, the dwelling of the testimony. What's the testimony? The testimony of Israel and the Holy One, blessed be He, that He. It's actually not that. It's the testimony is that God. The Mishkan's construction is a testimony that God forgave the Jews in the golden calf, because now He put His Shechina among them.
Thank God.
So the testimony was the divine presence resting there. The work of the Levites, the parts of the dwelling that were counted in its utensils constitute the work that was entrusted to the Levium. So all these accounted parts and vessels is the avoda for the Levites to do what? To carry it, to put it up, to put it down. Everybody for their burden that was assigned to him, as we said in Parshas Nasai. Next page 32, Biadi Samar, in the hand of Itamar, he was in charge of them to delegate each family group of the Levites the work that had been assigned to carry whatever they carried. Okay. Chabez, Vitzal ben Uri ben Chor Lamati Yoda, Vitzal is son of Uri, the son of Chor, from the tribe of Judah. Allah says, he did everything God commanded Moshe. Rashi, Vitzal ben Uri, he did everything God commanded Moshe. So, seemingly, it should have said, he did everything Moshe commanded him. Right? Did God speak to Bezalel? No, God spoke to Moshe. Moshe gave the instructions to Bezalel. So it should have said Bezalel did everything Moshe told him. Why is saying everything that God told Moshe? It seems like the wrong point here. So there's a backstory. Even the things that Moshe did not tell him specifically, he was very intuitive to what Moshe was told at Sinai. For example, Moshe commands Bezalel to make the kalim, the vessels for the temple first, and then create the structure, the walls and the roof. So Bezalel asked Moshe, Minan ha'olam las tchlabai sakamesim kelim seicha. Moshe, why are you commanding the vessels first and then to make the room, the building? First make the building, then make the furniture. And Moshe said, indeed, that's what Hashem told me. You intuited right. You're intuitive. That's why Moshe says, you're Bezalel. Your name is Betzel Kel Hayisa. You were created, must have been in the shadow of God because you are so intuitive that you know what God told me, even if I didn't tell you 100% of the details. And indeed, Moshe, that's what we see that in Vayakhel talks about the building of the Urios first, the roof and the walls, and then it talks about the
so which was done? It was the building
walls, the roof and the walls, and then the furniture. That was actually what was done. God commanded about the furniture first, but that was for a different reason, whatever that might be. Moving along, I have to hurry up. Chavdalad. All the gold that was used for the work, in all aspects of the holy work, by Hizav and Tufa, being the gold from the wave offering, Teshavasim Kikar was 29 Kikar. So all the gold assets to make this was 29 Kikar. Ushva Meya Shloshim shekel, 730 shekel. The shekel is weighed by the healthy type of shekel. What?
Did you get 23 of Gimel?
Oh, I skipped that? Yeah, I skipped that. Be'ito Aliyah ben Achisamach l'mati dan charash v'cheshiv. He also had, helping him was Aliyah the son of Achisamach of the tribe of Dan, a craftsman, a skilled weaver, and embroiderer. V'roikim atchelas in the embroiderer of tchelas, hagaman talashani, ashish, in the four, colored materials. Okay, Chavdal Rashi, Kikar is 60 mana. And the holy type of mana was double, so it's 120 mana. And a regular mana is equal to 25 slayim. And thus, the holy type of kikar was equal to 3,000 shekels weight.
It says in the Chumash, 3,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Pounds. Wow.
3,000 kikar equals 300, let's say, shekels, right? And that's how many shekels they had. Therefore, the Torah enumerates individually all the shekels less minus the 3,000, because they actually gave 1,775 shekels remaining. So I guess the number they rounded up to is 3,000 kikar.
Rabbi, what's this?
The weight was 3,900, about 3 tons, 3,095 pounds for all the gold.
Gold.
3 tons of gold.
Wow. 3,000 over.
Chav hey, the silver from the community was counted was 100. Elef shekel plus 1,775 left over shekodesh of the holy shekel. Beka a beka weight per head, which is a half a shekel of the holy type of shekel. For everywhere passed by the counting. Everybody to give a half shekel. My ben estim shalamayla for 20 till 20 and above. Sheish me'eselav al shesh levim of the 600,000, 300,000, chamesh me'es and 550 men.
150.
Yeah. Finish quickly. Becca is the name of a weight of a half shekel. For the 600, 3,000, there's that many Jews. This is their number after dwelling. The Mishkan was erected. We count in the census in Bamidbar, and this is also the amount that when they contributed to the Mishkan, that was the same number, 600,000 and change. And the number of half shekels of 600,000 equals 100 kikar, each being 3,000 shekels. 600,000 half shekels makes 300,000 whole ones, which each 100 is a kikar, and the remaining 3,555 shekels equals 1,775 shekels, which we'll talk about later, I guess. Chavzayin, the 100 kikar of silver; those were used for the bases of the sanctuary and the base of the partition. 100 bases la mas kikar from 100 kikar of silver kikar and 1 kikar per base. Wow. Letekis means to cast, molten. The base of the sanctuary, the beams of the dwelling, which were 48 beams, and thus they had 96 bases, plus 4 bases of the partition makes a total of 100. Regarding all the other bases, those were from copper, as we said. 1,775 shekel. He made hooks. Vavim Lamudim. He made hooks for the pillars. He covered their tops and band their pillars. He covered the tops of the pillars. As we said earlier, he made bands of silver from the top of them. The copper was 70 kikar, Valpayim, 2,000 Armeas, Shakam, 400 shekel. Lamed Bayaspa Sadne Pesach Hamayid. He made the base of the entrance of the tent of meeting. The copper altar and his copper grate, and all the altars to utensils. I'm sorry. Yeah, Lamed Aleph. Sadne Chotzav. He made the base of the enclosure all around. Sadne Shar Chatzer, all the bases of the entrance. That's Kol Yisés and Mishkan. The pegs. That's Kol Yisés Chotzav and the pegs for the enclosure all around, made of copper. Last verse, from the aquamarine, the purple, and the red, they made mesh cloths for youth in the sanctuary. They made the garments, the holy garments, Ashlaran for Aaron, as Hashem commanded Moshe. Rashi Aleph, from the Tcheles, all these, the turquoise, the purple, all that, those, it doesn't mention here linen. So why? Because I say that Big Day Sarad here is not actually the garments of the kahuna, because it mentions that soon. It's another type of thing. What is it? Because we know the garments of the kohen had linen. So these were actually the carrying garments, or that they put the holy furniture, vessels, when they would travel, and those did not have linen. And thus ends today's Chumash.